guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Michelle Flores and this is Run Gorda Run, a channel where I'll be talking about all things related to my fitness journey. So I just wanted to take some time to introduce myself and explain why it is that I'm starting this channel. Because there's a lot of different reasons for it and probably not the ones you might be expecting. I am a full-time mom, full-time teacher, full-time wife, and I have just found that over the years I've really lost touch with myself and I've lost touch with the things that I used to do to take care of myself on a daily basis. So this channel is a way to document the ways that I'm reconnecting with my former life as an athlete. Despite what I may look like right now, I actually used to be a competitive swimmer, particularly in middle school and high school. And then life just kind of happened. And over the years, taking care of myself, exercising, eating well, all of those things just kind of went by the wayside. And so, as what tends to happen when someone turns 30, I've noticed my body go through a lot of changes. And while I don't expect I'll ever get my high school body back, because one, that's super realistic, and two, that's not necessarily something I want, I do notice that I am not as happy and as fulfilled with a lot of the ways that I have been doing things for a really long time, and I want to make some changes to help manage my mental health and also be the best version of myself that I can be. So that kind of leads us to where we are today. Now, 9 years ago, my mother passed away from a glioblastoma brain tumor. This was when I was 22 and just at the start of my adulthood. So she missed my grad school graduation, she missed my meeting my first real boyfriend, as a grown-up. She missed my first years in my career as a teacher, she missed her grandchildren, she missed my wedding. There's just been so many things of her in my life that she has missed out on, and I have noticed that rather than dealing with those feelings directly, I have begun to slowly shut down. So I've done things like drink, party, eat a lot of junk food, I've stopped exercising. All of the things that used to bring me a lot of joy, I just slowly stopped doing. And it was getting to the point where I would just lay in bed for hours at a time and not even go outside for days at a time unless it was to walk to my car to go to work. This is not normal and healthy for me. This is not a way that I would like to be living my life. I grew up going camping a lot. I grew up, like I said before, competitively swimming. I grew up being one of the strongest people in the room, literally, like physically strong. And I was at the point where I would be on my feet all day at school as a teacher, and my feet would hurt and I could barely stand by the end of the day. So when things like that started happening, that's when I knew I needed to make a shift in my life. Now, at that time, I was also really, really struggling with anxiety and depression. I had just had my daughter, my second child. That was a second C-section to go through. While my pregnancy itself was a lot better than my first pregnancy, the recovery was so difficult, more difficult than my first pregnancy. And I just wasn't functioning. And so after my daughter's second birthday, I started going to therapy. I started to explore some of the things that were happening to me with my therapist. And she suggested that I go get my blood work done to check and see maybe if there was a hormonal reason why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. As it turned out, I actually had an issue with one of my thyroid hormones, the one that regulates fatigue. It was essentially functioning in a way that was making me more tired than I really should have been. Now, this was a huge red flag for me. Anyone who knows me knows that I have always kind of prided myself on being a big girl who's also healthy. Well, my blood work's fine, I'm okay, there's nothing wrong with me. And I think that can be true for a certain amount of time. So I took that as a really big red flag, primarily because my mother had thyroid cancer. seeing this blood work come back and seeing an issue with my thyroid come up, I knew right away I needed to make some changes. There was no way that I was going to be able to maintain the lifestyle that I was living, which actually mirrored a lot of what I saw from my mom growing up. Being as sedentary as I was and eating as badly as I was eating. So I knew I needed to make some changes. One of those changes started off with switching jobs and working at a school where the hours were a lot more manageable. Once I did that, I actually had time in my day to exercise, and so my exercise started off as getting on the elliptical for 30 minutes, doing some weights with my husband, but like really low level weights because I was literally starting from scratch. You know, taking long walks with my family for, 1 or 2 miles once a week. And then it slowly started building up from there. Now, on March 5th, my mother's 9-year anniversary of her passing occurred, and I got really reflective about how much time had passed and all of the things that I had accomplished since my mom had passed away. And I really wanted to think about a way that I could honor her on her 10-year anniversary. And shockingly, what popped up for me was to do what I personally think is the unthinkable and the entire reason why I'm starting this channel, and that is to run a half marathon. Now, I'm giving myself a year to train for this, but I'm every day looking at myself thinking, what on earth have you gotten yourself into? I am not a runner. I was never a runner even when I was swimming competitively. The fastest I've ever run a mile is 15 minutes. The main reason why I want to do this is because I want this run to be a testament to my mother and the legacy that she's left behind. I also want this to be a chance to acknowledge some of the flaws that my mother had because she was only human, and acknowledge some of the bad habits she developed in myself and my sister, but to just take those and flip them on their head. And so by running this half marathon, I want to set up a legacy for myself where I do take my health into consideration. I do take the time to take care of myself, because that's not something I ever really saw my mom doing. Now, to me, this is an insane goal, but I'm gonna do it, because if anybody knows anything about me, if I say I'm gonna do something, I do it no matter what. And I don't care if I'm the slowest person at this race. I don't care if I'm the last person to cross that finish line. I'm gonna do it. So this channel is really gonna be the documentation of that process. As I'm doing this though, I'm also trying to raise money for my mom. So one of the big goals I have is to raise money for the American Brain Tumor Association. It's a really great organization that provides a lot of much needed funding for the type of brain tumors that would affect people like my mom. She had a glioblastoma, which is the more common form of a brain cancer tumor, but brain cancer in itself is not very common. And so I really want to view exercise not as a means of weight loss, because that's not my goal in any of this. I really want this to be an example of how to use exercise as a spiritual practice, of how to use exercise as a means to manage your mental health, and a way to use exercise to honor your ancestors, to pay things forward through your legacy, and to maintain a lifestyle that will bring longevity, that will bring joy, that will bring fulfillment. This can look very different for a lot of different people, but for me, this is gonna look like running a half marathon. I'm nervous and I'm excited about this process. I actually have my first 5K already set up. With all of this corona craziness, I had signed up for a couple of 5Ks that got canceled. So I originally was just gonna wait until they got rescheduled, but then a virtual 5K came up, and I figured I might as well try it, because the more goals I can make along the way, I feel like the more realistic it will be for me to accomplish my goals. So some things that you can expect from this channel are definitely talks about exercise, talks about fitness, food, mental health, motherhood, recovering from pregnancies, exercising with a partner, with children, and really just anything relating to exercise as a spiritual practice, because that is something I'm trying to build more and more of on my day-to-day life. One thing I will not be talking about on this channel is weight loss. So if you're coming here for weight loss tips, or if you're coming here to see how my progress is looking in terms of weight loss, I won't be talking about it, and I won't acknowledge it anymore from this point. So I'm sorry to disappoint, this just isn't gonna be that kind of channel. If you'd like to follow along with me on a more day-to-day basis, I do have an Instagram. It's at Run Gorda, and I'll put the link below. And if you'd like to donate to my fundraiser, I'm also putting the link below. It's called Michelle Runs a Half Marathon, of course. And yeah, just let me know what you think. How do you feel about this idea of exercise as a spiritual practice? I'd love to connect with people who are kind of feeling the same thing as me, or if you have a differing opinion, I'd also love to hear that as well. I'm very open-minded. But I think I've rambled on enough for this video, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign off from here. I'm excited to start this journey, and I'm excited to take you all along with me. Bye.